What's up, guys? We're back with a full slate of MLB action here on Saturday, June 29th. Friday was a solid winning day, guys. We got off to a slow start with the Nationals plus 130. Significant underdog there. They weren't able to come through, just didn't produce enough offense in that game, although it was a close one. Followed that up with a solid win on Baltimore minus 135. Seems like the Orioles are back on track there. After that, the Astros let us down. The Astros minus 112. I guess we deserved to lose there betting against the New York Mets, but we finished the day strong with 3 straight wins. We hit our biggest bet of the day with the Brewers minus 135. Followed that up with a very good win there on the Royals plus 105. They came through for us. And then in extra innings, guys, we got the win with the Mariners minus 130. So a 4-2 day overall. Definitely take that, put it on the board. Let's hope we can keep things rolling here headed into the weekend. Before we get into the games, guys, do me a big favor and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today, and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Colorado Rockies taking on the Chicago White Sox. The Rockies and White Sox are currently playing in game 1 of their series right now. We see the White Sox up 5-3 there in the bottom of the 7th inning, so they're in relatively decent shape to close this thing out and get a win. Wins have been few and far between for the Rockies, though. They're 27-53 on the year, handing the ball in this game to Cal Quantrill, who is 6-5 this year with a 3.50 ERA. He's coming off of, I would say, an okay start there against the Nationals. I mean, he went 6 innings, gave 7 hits, and 3 earned runs, so that's fine. Not exactly dominant stuff, and not exactly going up against the toughest offensive opponent, but regardless, he kind of got the job done there. We also see the Rockies are 3-2 over his last 5 starts, which is pretty nice, given this is a team that's not going to be winning a ton of games this season. He also had a decent start against the Dodgers, so, you know, he's looked okay recently. Not a ton of complaints for me about him, but plenty of complaints from everybody in the major leagues about this Rockies bullpen, guys. One of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball. Obviously, we can give them a little bit of a pass for pitching in Coors Field all the time, but in general, they need to be a little bit better than they've been so far this season. Offensively, this team is, coming off a game where they've only scored 3 runs right now, 1 and 2 runs respectively the couple games before that, so not swinging the hottest bats, and they really haven't been a great offensive team over the course of the season. They've always been an above average batting average team somehow. I'm not exactly sure how that continues to happen, but they're making it happen. Unfortunately, that's not leading to a ton of runs being scored. They're also 15th in the majors in slugging percentage and 17th in the majors in on-base percentage. This team doesn't have a lot of, big-time sluggers that can really take advantage of getting to play there at Coors Field, so just not a ton of positives to report here for the Rockies offense, and they may not have to put up a ton of offense, you wouldn't think, going up against the Chicago White Sox, who possibly are going to be winning their 2nd game in a row, which is not something that's happened a ton of times here for the White Sox. They're having a terrible season, going 22, maybe going to be 23-61 on the season. They're going to be handing the ball in this game to Jonathan Cannon. Fantastic name there. He's 1-2 this season with a 4.59 ERA, coming off of a terrible outing, guys. As we see time and time again, these pitchers, after they have a crazy long outing, longer than the normal, they struggle their next time out. Against Houston back on the 18th, he went 8 2/3 innings, gave up 7 hits, and did not allow a run. He followed that up by going to Detroit, where he got shelled, went 1 inning, gave up 7 hits, 8 runs, 5 of them were earned. He gave up 2 home runs in that game, just was not ready to go. So we'll see him a little bit more rested, a little bit more recovered, and in this game, he's going to be pitching at home. So I think we can expect pretty good things here out of Jonathan Cannon. I mean, he's been good in general this season. He's shown electric stuff out there. He is a huge right-hander out there, really a commanding presence on the mound, so I'm expecting big things from him. What do I expect from this White Sox bullpen? Well, guys, they've got a 4.67 bullpen ERA, which is 25th in the majors, so I am not expecting very good things from them, but they have been better recently, so we'll give them a little bit of credit there for the bullpen trending in a positive direction, although how positive, the jury's still out on that. I wouldn't be shocked to see them, implode here in the 8th, 9th innings and lose this game, so we'll see what happens. Not super high on the White Sox offense for all the obvious reasons, guys. Have been one of the worst offenses in Major League Baseball all season long. Honestly, the absolute worst, to be quite frank. Like, this is a terrible offensive team. Not a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. The fact they managed to score 5 runs in this game is pretty wild for them. They're not a team you expect to put up very many or really hardly any runs, so that's a big concern for me in this game. What are we going to get from their offense? I wouldn't expect a lot, especially going up against Cal Quantrill, not a terrible starter. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Rockies at -105. We see the White Sox at -102. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Guys, one of these numbers really sticks out to me. First of all, I kind of tend to lean slightly towards the White Sox -102 because I'm expecting good things from Jonathan Cannon, but really I think the best value in this game is the under. We see the White Sox are 44, 36, and 3 to the under. We do see Colorado as a slight over team, but they're playing on the road, not at home, not at Coors Field, so that definitely takes a little bit of the wind out of their sails there. I am worried about the fact that the White Sox are 14-28 at home, but thus under in this game seems very appealing to me. Not expecting a lot of offense from either one of these teams, and they're both running pretty solid starters out there, so if you wanted to take a look at a no-run first inning in this game, that would be fine with me as well. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Cincinnati Reds going on the road to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. The Reds come into this game fresh off of a 1-0 loss there in Game 2 of this series. They scored 11 runs to win 11-4 in Game 1, then only 0 runs to lose 1-0 in Game 2. They're 38-44 on the season, handing the ball in this one to Carson Spears, who has yet to figure in a result this season. He's making his second start of the year. Both of his first 2 starts were pretty much identical, guys. He was going against the Pirates in each of those starts, went 6 innings, gave up 7 hits, 4 and 3 runs respectively in those 2 outings, so not exactly dominant stuff. Also not a disaster, not a guy that I don't think the Reds are not really looking to him to be one of their main starters over the course of the season. We'll see, 26 years old, so, not exactly the youngest guy out there, but he's shown decent stuff, maybe not dominant. The Reds bullpen, on the other hand, has been pretty good recently. I mean, a 3.92 bullpen ERA is nothing to turn your nose up at. Definitely a solid bullpen out there, despite having to play a lot of their games in one of the most hitter-friendly parks in the MLB. Obviously, the bats, not the hottest right now. They've scored 0, 11, 1, and 5 runs, respectively, over their last 4 games. They haven't been the best offense over the course of the season. They are 15th in runs scored, but those numbers are thrown way off by a lot of just like big pile-it-on type of, hitting performances. They're 24th in the majors in batting average, 21st in on-base percentage. We don't see anybody exactly killing the ball for them recently, so yeah, a little bit worried about this offense going into this game. They're taking on the Cardinals, who come to this game winners of 2 of their last 3. Obviously trying to get, a little bit back on track after scoring only 1 run, but giving up 0, a fantastic outing out there for the Cardinals, so they'll definitely take that game to win. They're handing the ball to Sonny Gray, who's 9-4 this year with a 2.81 ERA, coming off of a dazzling performance there at home against the San Francisco Giants. He went 7 innings, he had 1 hit and 1 earned run, struck out 8 and walked no one in that outing. He's been dominant this season, especially pitching at home, so we're definitely expecting big things out of Sonny Gray. And speaking of bullpens trending in a positive direction, guys, the Cardinals bullpen kind of holding things together here. I mean, obviously they looked good there in Game 2 of this series. Didn't look so hot in Game 1, but they're up to MLB average, which is much better than at early points this season where this bullpen was looking pretty terrible. The Cardinals offense only putting up 1 run there in Game 2 isn't amazing, obviously, but they're going to be looking to put up some more runs in this one. They've scored 1, 4, and 4 runs respectively over their last 3 games. This is not a great offense, guys. 26th in the majors in runs scored, 19th in the majors in both slugging percentage and on base percentage. Not a great batting average team either. We are seeing some young guys, some side pieces, some people that aren't Goldschmidt's or Arenado kind of like, get on track this season, kind of get headed in a positive direction. So we'll see if they can keep that one up here. They're not exactly taking on an amazing pitching team. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Reds at +145. We see the Cardinals at -165. We got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Cardinals are a good home team. They're 21-17 at home. The Reds are 18-20 on the road. We see both teams showing pretty similar trends towards the under. So honestly, if you wanted to take an under in this game, if you think we're going to see another, another very, very offense light game, you could do that. But in general, guys, I'm leaning pretty hard towards the Cardinals -165. I like Sonny Gray out there on the mound a lot. If you wanted to take a look at the Cardinals -1.5, that would also make some sense to me. We're probably not going to get greedy here. We'll probably just take them on the money line here ourselves. But like I said, would not blame you for going for some more value. Next up, guys, we got the New York Yankees going on the road to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. Everybody that was saying the Yankees were due for a bounce back, due to get back on track here. Like I was saying in the comments, like I said in the last video, I thought there was a very decent chance they would win this game, and they surely did. They won 16-5, looking crazy out there. They went fifth. They're 53-31 on the season, handing the ball to Nestor Cortez, who is 4-6 this year with a 3.40 ERA. He's coming off of a kind of questionable start at Atlanta, or at home against Atlanta. I mean, he went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits and 3 earned runs, so not exactly a disaster. He had a very good start before that against the Baltimore Orioles. honestly, he's been throwing the ball really, really well over his last 3 games going up against some pretty tough opponents. The Yankees bullpen obviously hasn't looked as dominant recently as they looked over the course of the season, but they're still not terrible. They're a top 5 bullpen in the major leagues. Absolutely no question about that for me. And this offense came alive. We saw Soto hit a home run. Judge drove in 2. Like, this team, obviously they're going to miss Stanton until he gets back. That's a big deal. They're also missing Rizzo. He's been out for a bit and going to be out for a bit. But overall, this offense definitely still has enough pieces. Definitely capable of putting up runs. I mean, scoring 16 in that game. Pretty dominant stuff. The Blue Jays obviously reeling after getting destroyed like that. They're 37-44 on the year, so not exactly having a great time. They're handing the ball to Chris Bassett, who's 6-6 this year with a 3.45 ERA. He's coming off of yet another very serviceable start, guys. At Boston, he looked great. He went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits and 2 earned runs. Start for that, he only gave up 2 earned runs as well against the Red Sox. And despite how well he's pitched over his last 5 starts, we see that the Blue Jays are only 1-4 over those starts. So part of that problem is their horrendous bullpen, guys. They've been one of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball all season long, so that doesn't help. Also doesn't help that their offense is awful, guys. I mean, they've scored 5, 9, 9, and 6 runs respectively over their last 4, which is crazy high production for an offense that has been one of the bottom feeders in the majors all season long. They're 27th in the majors in runs scored, 22nd in team batting average, batting .235 as a team. Vladimir Guerrero, he's their leader in pretty much every meaningful hitting statistic, and he is not having his best season. So a lot of big questions for me about this offense. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Yankees at -120. We see the Blue Jays at +108. We see an over-under of 8 in this game. The Yankees are 29-17 on the road. It seems like they're back on track after that win. Toronto is 19-20 at home. So, not exactly the best home team, but not a complete disaster. Chris Bassett has been throwing the ball really, really well recently. He faced the Yankees earlier in the season. I mean, much earlier in the season. Back towards the very beginning of the season, it looked very, very good over 6 1/3 innings. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. It was a long time ago. Nestor Cortez has not faced Toronto this season, so nothing we can glean from that. In general, in this game, guys, I'm leaning towards the Yankees -120. Even if they don't get a lot of runs here off of Bassett, I think they'll take advantage of that Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. But overall, this is probably another stay away spot for me. I don't 100% trust the Yankees yet, but we'll see. It could end up in the pin comment theoretically. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the Miami Marlins going on the road to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. The Marlins come into this game fresh off of a 2-0 loss there in Game 2 of this series. The Phillies were able to figure things out without 2 of their better players, so good for them. The Marlins are 29-53 on the year, handing the ball in this one to Roddery Munoz, who's 1-3 this season with a 5.80 ERA, coming off a pretty rough start there at the Kansas City Royals. He gave up 4 earned runs, including 3 home runs. He's given up 6 home runs over his last 2 games combined, guys. Crazy stuff. Against the Cardinals, he gave up 3 home runs, and then at the Kansas City Royals, he gave up 3 home runs. So, not exactly throwing the ball great right now. Big questions about him. Also, big questions about this Marlins bullpen. One of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball. No great shock there for me, guys. And this offense not putting up a ton of runs. Obviously, they did score 7 runs in Game 1 of this series. Pretty crazy stuff there. An implosion from the Phillies bullpen, but yeah, scoring a grand total of 0 runs here in Game 2. Kind of a return to form for an offense that's been very, very weak. I mean, they're 29th in the majors in runs scored, 29th in the majors, getting on base at a 282 mark. They're also 29th in slugging percentage, slugging the ball at a 350 mark. Just not a lot of good things to report for this offense that is really just terrible. They're taking on the Phillies in this game, who bounced back there with a 2-0 win. Obviously not hitting the ball incredibly well. We saw a great start there from Christopher Sanchez. Injuries are a problem for the Phillies right now. We've seen Schwarber, he's on the 10-day IL. We also see Bryce Harper on the 10-day IL. So both of them are going to be out. It's not 100% sure how long they're actually going to miss, if it's really just going to be 10 days or if it's going to be an extended situation. I mean, Harper dealing with a hamstring and Schwarber dealing with a groin. Both of those can be nagging injuries that you don't want bothering them for the rest of the season. So it's going to be the Phillies without those 2 guys. That definitely is a blow to their offense. They're going to be handing the ball to Aaron Nola, who's 9-3 this season with a 3.39 ERA. He's coming off a very good start at Detroit, where he went 7 innings, gave up 6 hits and only a single earned run while striking out 6 and walking none. So pretty good things from him, no doubt about that. And the Phillies bullpen, obviously coming off of a very solid performance there today, is currently leading the MLB with a 3.08 bullpen ERA. So not too worried about that. We are a bit worried about the Phillies offense in this game, guys. I mean, missing Schwarber and Harper is a big deal, but they've got some other guys. Like they definitely have other pieces. Do we expect them to be able to put up a ton of runs in this game? I mean, they only had a grand total of 7 hits there in Game 2, so I'm a little bit worried about that, even though they're not going up against a very good pitching staff. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Marlins at +210. We see the Phillies at -245. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. I honestly think it's reasonable to look at the under in this one. I mean, we see the Phillies are 42, 35, and 5 to the under. We see Miami is a slight over team, but they're not a team that's going to put up a ton of runs. So in general, I do think this could be a reasonable under spot. I'm still a little bit scared to take the Phillies minus 1.5 or anything like that, considering their injury situation. Just give me the under 8.5 in this game, and it's going to be a watch and see spot for us to see if these bench guys can step it up for the Phillies. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Chicago Cubs going on the road to take on the Milwaukee Brewers in an NL Central showdown. The Cubs come into this game fresh off of a 4-2 loss in game 1 of this series. We had the Brewers in that one. Is a pretty good spot. We liked it a lot, so we will definitely take that W. The Cubs are 38-45 in the season, handing the ball to Justin Steele, who's 0-3 this year with a 3.08 ERA. He's coming off a very good start there at the Giants, where he went 7 1/3 innings, gave up 2 earned runs on 6 hits. He did give up 2 home runs in that game, so that's not great, especially considering he's about to go up against the Brewers. So a little bit worrisome there from Steele. The last time he faced the Brewers, he did look good though. He went 7 innings, gave up 3 hits, and struck out 8, giving up no runs in a game we saw the Cubs eventually lose 5-1. So we're a little bit worried about the Brewers' ability to get hits off of Steele, but we're also a little bit worried about this Cubs bullpen. They've been around league average at 3.95 bullpen ERA is not a disaster, but the problems for the Cubs don't end there, guys. Their offense has been terrible lately. They scored 2, 5, 3, and 1 runs respectively over their last few games. Just not having a good time at the plate. 18th in the majors in runs scored, 25th in the majors in team batting average. Their slugging percentage is .369, not too good. They're taking on a Milwaukee Brewers team that can definitely hit the ball. The Brewers have won their last 5 in a row. They're 49-33 on the season, handing the ball in this game to Tobias Myers, who's 5-2 this year with a 3.12 ERA. He's coming off of a very good start there at San Diego, where he went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, and only a single earned run. So he's throwing the ball pretty well right now, and he actually doesn't have a start against the Brewers this season, so not a ton we can glean from that. We do notice that the Brewers are 5-0 over his last 5 starts, so that's pretty nice. He also hasn't given up more than 1 earned run over his last 4 starts. He's actually given up a grand total of 2 earned runs over his last 4 starts combined. So Bro is throwing the ball really, really well. The Brewers bullpen is also very good, easily top 10, definitely better than the Cubs bullpen by a slight margin, maybe not a huge margin, but definitely some margin there. And this is a great hitting team, guys. They've scored 4, 6, 3, 6, and 6 runs respectively over their last few games. Contreras is a monster. This team is 7th in the majors in runs scored and 6th in the majors in batting average, batting .255 as a team. They're a good slugging percentage team. They're one of the best on base percentage teams in the majors. This is a good offensive team. And guys, looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Cubs at +102. We see the Brewers at -112. We got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Milwaukee is 25-12 at home. The Cubs are only 16-26 on the road and not playing their best ball right now. I know Justin Steele is a monster out there at times, and he has success in his 1 start this season against the Brewers. But guys, give me the Brewers to go ahead and win this game. I like them -112 in this spot a good amount. I also think under 8.5 is live, but we're going to be on the Brewers -112. Not quite as confident as we are we in them today as we were yesterday, but we're definitely taking them again today. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Cleveland Guardians going on the road to take on the Kansas City Royals. The Guardians come into this game fresh off of a Game 2 loss. They lost 10-3, so they're down 2 games to nothing here in this series. They're 51-29 on the year, handing the ball to Tanner Bybee, who's 6-2 this season with a 3.50 ERA. He's coming off a very good start there against the Baltimore Orioles, where he went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, and only 2 runs. Only 1 of them was earned. He's looked very good over his last couple starts. Bounce backs after having a hard time there against the Cincinnati Reds a little bit. Not a disaster start for him there, obviously, but maybe not his best stuff. He faced the Royals back at the beginning of this month, back on the 6th. He went 5 innings, gave up 6 hits and 2 runs. 3 runs total, only 2 of them were earned. He didn't look terrible in that start, but he didn't go super deep, and it's a game we saw Cleveland lose 4-3. So definitely have to take that in consideration. The Cleveland bullpen is nothing to turn your nose up at, guys. 5th in the majors with a 3.50 ERA is very, very good. And the bats have been a little bit quiet lately. That's been pretty much the main problem for this squad at the moment. I mean, they just couldn't keep up with the Royals, who hit 4 home runs there in the 10-3 win. We see Cleveland, they've scored 3, 1, and 2 runs respectively over their last 3 games. So definitely need the freaking bats to wake up a little bit here. I mean, Jose Ramirez is leading the way for this team that's 5th in the majors in runs scored, but not swinging the hottest bats right now. They're taking on a Royals team that's turning things around after some recent struggles. They've actually won 4 of their last 5 games overall. They're 46-38 on the year, handing the ball to Cole Rangans, who's 5-5 this season with a 3.03 ERA. He's coming off a very good start there against the Marlins, where he went 6 innings, gave up only a single run on 4 hits while striking out 11. So very, very positive stuff from him there. He has not faced the Cleveland Guardians yet this season, so no information that we can glean from that. But in general, we're pretty happy with how Rangans is throwing the ball. All of his last 5 starts have been very reasonable. The Royals are only 2 and 3 over those starts, but that hasn't exactly been his fault. The Royals bullpen seems like it's back trending in a positive direction. They're 10th in the majors with a 3.77 bullpen ERA, and the bats are swinging, guys. They've scored 10, 2, 5, 1, and 4 runs respectively over their last 5 games. So Salvador Perez, Hunter Renfroe, like there was some hitting going on there for the Royals. Things are looking up for this offense. It's been in a little bit of a slump. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Guardians at -102. We see the Royals at -108. They're over-unders of 8.5 or 8 out there. Cleveland is 25-19 on the road, but the Royals are 28-15 at home. This seems like kind of a tough spot, guys. Do I trust Cole Rangans and the Royals enough to get another win here? I mean, the question for me really is, when is this Guardians offense going to wake up? It could be in this game, definitely. I mean, Rangans has had his moments this year for sure, but he's also had his negative moments. So I'm going to be leaning towards the Royals -108 in this game. I don't think I really have enough confidence in them in this one to put it in the pinned comment, though. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Houston Astros going on the road to take on the New York Mets. The Astros come into this game fresh off a 7-2 loss at the New York Mets there. They're down to 40-41 on the season. Did not get the kind of outing we thought we would get from the Astros. Not a good look there in game one. We're hoping that Valdez can bounce back in this one. He's 6-5 this year with a 3.68 ERA, coming off a very good start there against the then slumping Baltimore Orioles. He went 7 innings, gave up 6 hits and a single earned run. We see the Astros are 3-2 over his last 5 starts, so I guess that's something. He's actually looked very good in 4 out of his last 5 starts, so, you know, things looking pretty solid there for Framber Valdez. The Houston bullpen has been another story this season. I mean, not exactly amazing. They're trending in a positive direction, though, sitting at 17th in the majors with a 4.06 bullpen ERA, but this is not a bullpen that I have a crazy amount of faith in, guys. And the Astros offense is a tough one to have faith in as well. They just scored 2 runs in game 1 of the series. Before that, they were swinging some pretty hot bats, so maybe they'll get back after it, but man, it's been a little bit rough lately. Jose Altuve, you know, hitting the ball well, swinging the bat well, all that jazz, but this team is only 13th in the majors in runs scored. They're 1st in batting average and 8th in on base percentage, but yeah, they just have a hard time, very often an unreasonable amount, if you ask me, getting runs across the plate. So they're going to have to figure out a way to score some runs going up against the New York Mets, who have now won 4 in a row. They're just killing it over their last like 20 games or something like that. They're 40-39 on the year, handing the ball to Taylor Miguel, who's 2-4 this season with a 4.81 ERA. He's coming off a bad start there at the Cubs. Yeah, having a bad start at the Cubs is kind of embarrassing. He went 3 innings, gave up 5 hits and 6 earned runs. So not a very good outing there. He's had trouble with the Marlins and the Washington Nationals during his last 5 starts. So I've got some pretty sizable question marks here about Miguel. I mean, although the way the Mets are playing, it's hard to bet against them, guys. The Mets are 18th in the majors in bullpen ERA with a 4.09 ERA coming out of the pen, so that's not terrible, and the bats have come alive for sure. They've scored 7, 12, 9, and 5 runs respectively over their last 4. Things are just looking pretty positive for this team at the plate at this point. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Astros at -120, the Mets at +108. We've got an over-under of 8.5 right now. Houston is not a good road team, guys. They're only 14-22 on the road this season. The Mets are now 21-22 at home, which is a number that's trending in a very positive direction, just like everything else the Mets are doing. We also see the Astros are an MLB best 48-29-4 to the under this season. That's pretty crazy stuff. So honestly, if you wanted to take a look at the under, I could definitely understand it, but in general in this game, guys, I'm going to go ahead and lean towards the Astros -120. I don't think they're going to lose another one here. I think we'll see Valdez have a good start. It's tough to bet on the Astros on the road, though, so this is probably not going in the pinned comment. Next up, guys, we're taking a look at the Oakland Athletics going on the road to take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Things are currently tied up for these teams in game 1 of their series. It's 3-3 there in the end of the 6th inning, so going into the 7th inning, a very tight game. Not sure who's going to come out on top in that one. We're looking at the Astros handing the ball in this game to Hogan Harris. He's been, he's been pretty good for them this season. Not a lot you can do pitching for the Oakland A's, but he's 1-1 this year with a 2.72 ERA, coming off of a reasonable, not his best outing though, against the Minnesota Twins, where he gave up 3 earned runs on 5 hits over 6 innings. 3 earned runs is actually the most runs he's given up over any of his last 5 starts. So, like I said, the dude's been throwing the ball well recently. No doubt about that. He's doing everything he can out there. Not a ton you can do with the A's bullpen backing you up, though. A 4.41 bullpen ERA is pretty bad. Easily bottom third of the majors, and this offense, guys, is bad. The fact that they've scored 3 runs in their current game is pretty impressive because they've scored 3, 2, 5, 1, and 0 runs, respectively, over their last few games. This team went into their current game riding a 5-game losing streak. A lot of that falls on the doorstep of their offense, which is 28th in the majors in both runs scored and on base percentage. Getting on base at a 293 clip is pretty embarrassing stuff. They're going to have to figure out a way to score some runs here going up against the Diamondbacks, who, they didn't have a good time in their series against the Twins, and they're hoping they can turn things around here against the Oakland A's. The Diamondbacks are 39-42 on the season, handing the ball in this one to Zach Gallen, who is 5-4 this year with a 3.12 ERA. His last start got cut short with a hamstring injury, guys. He's looking to be back. His last start was back on the 30th, so he's missed about a month here. So, he's had plenty of time to recover. He should be good to go, and he was looking good going into that start. His 3 starts before that had all been pretty reasonable, and we saw that the Diamondbacks, not the best team, were 2-2 over those starts. So definitely expecting pretty decent things out of him, assuming that his hamstring is healthy and that he can stay out there for, a normal length of start. The bullpen for the Diamondbacks, though, guys, is a big question mark. One of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball. No major shock there. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that. It's just been a struggle for them coming out of the pen. Whenever the starter comes out of the game, it's a lot of question marks popping up. The Diamondbacks offense in general this year has been very good. They're still top 10 in runs scored and top 10 in team batting average, batting 250 as a squad. They've maybe had a little bit of a rougher time lately. They scored 6, 3, and 5 runs respectively over their last few games. They've only scored 3 runs going into the top of the 7th of their current game. So, I have my question marks about this team on the bullpen side of things, but the offense should be able to put up some runs, assuming they can avoid some sort of weird slump. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Diamondbacks at -190. We see the A's at +160. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Guys, a couple different things I like in this game. I definitely like under 8.5. That seems reasonable to me. Oakland's a pretty big under team, and we're expecting good things from both starters, but I also think the A's +160 is certainly worth a look. I don't love how the Diamondbacks are playing right now. Zach Gallen is coming off of an injury, so we're not 100% sure what we're going to get out of him. And yeah, Hogan Harris has been throwing the ball really, really well over his last several starts, so I think we're going to see good things out of him, and I think we're going to see the A's with a definite chance to win late in this game, and at +160, that is a very reasonable price. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Pittsburgh Pirates going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. The Pirates come into this game fresh off of a 6-1 loss there in Game 1 of this series. They're 39-42 on the year, not exactly having a dream season. They are handing the ball to Paul Skeens, though. Probably the most exciting young player in baseball right now. He's 4-0 this season with a 2.14 ERA, coming off a great start there against the Tampa Bay Rays, where he went 7 innings, gave up 6 hits, and only a single earned run in a game that we eventually saw the Pirates lose there 3-1. So tough stuff there. Snapped a 4-game winning streak for him, and yeah, there's just only so much you can do out there. He's looked absolutely dominant. They're not going to let him go crazy deep into games. He went 7 innings, giving up 1 run. Pretty solid stuff from him there, but man, what can you do when you've got the Pirates bullpen coming in behind you? A 4.01 bullpen ERA is not great, slightly below average in the majors, and this offense struggles to put up runs, guys. They've scored 1, 6, 9, and 5 runs respectively over their last few games. So honestly, swinging some relatively hotter bats, but they're gonna have to really swing the bats well here, because they are taking on a tough pitching staff, being 27th in the majors in batting average and 28th in the majors in slugging percentage. Not exactly a harbinger of a team that's going to score a bunch of runs. They're going up against the Braves, a team that can score a bunch of runs. They're 45-35 on the year, handing the ball to Max Fried, who's 7-3 this season with a 3.00 ERA. He's coming off of a dominant start there at the Yankees, where he went 6 innings, gave up 6 hits, and only a single earned run. He struck out 4 and walked no one in that game. The Braves are 4-1 over his last 5 starts, with the only loss being at Baltimore in a start that he honestly didn't look terrible in. He's just looked very, very good. Max Fried, absolute monster out there. The Braves bullpen, guys, not one to turn your nose up at. 7th in the majors with a 3.56 bullpen ERA is excellent. Definitely a good bullpen. We can trust them to take over when Max Fried comes out of this game. And man, the Braves offense, can we trust them to score runs? It's been a little sketchy lately. They scored 6, 0, 1, and 6 runs respectively over their last 4. If the offense can give this pitching staff any sort of support, they're in a good spot to win a lot of games, but it's been a bit tough. They're now below average in the majors in runs scored at 16th with 344 runs scored this season. They're 16th in team batting average, batting 243 as a squad. Just not an offense that I can really get behind. So I've got some big question marks about what they're going to be able to do in this game. And looking at the numbers for this one, we see the Pirates at +138 with Skeens on the mound. That is very intriguing. We see the Braves at -155. Maybe not super interested in that. We've got over-under showing out there of 7.5 or 8. The Pirates are 20-22 on the road. The Braves are 25-13 at home. In general in this game, guys, I think it's a very good no-run first inning spot. Unfortunately, the price on the no-run first inning there is very expensive at -135, so That's not ideal. If you wanted to take something like the under in the first 5 innings, I think that would be reasonable as well. But in general, guys, I'm going to be leaning towards the under 8. There's still 8s out there bouncing around. You should be able to find one of them. Go ahead and take under 8. I think we're going to see very little offense in this game, especially early in the games while the starters are still out there, because both of these guys can absolutely deal. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the San Diego Padres going on the road to take on the Boston Red Sox. The Padres come into this game fresh off of a 9-2 win there in Game 1. It seems like this team does not miss Tatis at all. They're up to 45-41 on the season, handing the ball to Michael King, who's 5-5 this year with a 3.75 ERA. He's coming off a pretty rough start there, going up against the Brewers. He didn't have a good time over his 6 innings. He gave up 9 hits and 5 earned runs. He did strike out 8 in that appearance, so, not a complete disaster, but didn't exactly have his best time. Although, he's a solid pitcher. He's been one of the Padres' better pitchers this season, so definitely going to give him some credit for the year that he's having overall. The Padres bullpen has been a problem this year for sure. They are up to 19th in the majors in bullpen ERA, so maybe some slight trends showing in a positive direction. This is a team that is going to need their pitching staff to be a little bit better, but right now the bats are taking care of business, guys. They've scored 9, 8, 9, and 7 runs respectively over their last 4. They've actually managed to win 8 of their last 9 games to get themselves up to that 45-41 mark. They're 8 games back to the Dodgers still, but man, good things cooking for this offense, even without Tatis out there. They're 2nd in the majors in team batting average. They're 7th in the majors in runs scored. Like, this is an offense that's absolutely killing it right now, and they're taking on a Red Sox team who comes into this game fresh off of back-to-back losses. They're 43-38 on the year, handing the ball in this one to Tanner Houck, who's 7-5 this season with a 2.18 ERA. He's coming off of a decent start against the Toronto Blue Jays. I guess back-to-back decent starts against the Blue Jays. His start against the Phillies back on the 13th, he went 6 innings, gave up 8 hits and 3 earned runs. Is this guy a dominant starter? I mean, it's kind of hard for me to say that. He does have his good days. He puts up some pretty decent numbers. So what can we expect to see out of him pitching at home in this one? I mean, his last home start was his last time out against the Toronto Blue Jays. He went 6 2/3 innings, gave up 5 hits and 3 runs. So it is a game we saw the Red Sox win 7-6. They are 5-0 over his last 5 starts, but we do see the last 2 of those were very, very close games. So, gotta, it's hard to tell what we're going to get here from him, and what are we going to get from this Red Sox bullpen? Well, generally some pretty good stuff, guys. They're 6th in the majors with a 3.53 bullpen ERA. So nothing major wrong with that. The offense hasn't really been there over the last couple games. I mean, they've scored 2 and 4 runs respectively over their last 2. But in general, they've been swinging the bats pretty well recently. So, I mean, they're 11th in the majors in runs scored, 7th in batting average, 7th in on-base percentage, and they're slugging the ball at a 420 mark. Like, this is not a terrible offense. So, looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Padres at plus 128. We see the Red Sox at minus 145. We got an over-under showing out there of 8.5 or 9. We see the Padres are up to 20-19 on the road. The Red Sox are only 19-22 at home. They really haven't had the best time at home. In general, in this game, guys, I'm leaning towards those red-hot San Diego Padres. I don't know that the Red Sox are necessarily going to go on some big extended losing streak, but Houck is just not somebody that I trust aggressively, and I'm seeing good things here from the Padres right now, so I think they just keep on hitting the ball, and I'm expecting them to manage to rack up another win here, even as an underdog. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Washington Nationals going on the road to take on the Tampa Bay Rays. The Nationals come into this game fresh off of yet another loss, guys. They've lost 4 in a row. They let us down there in Game 1 of this series, losing 3-1. So, a relatively competitive game. They just couldn't find a way to score hardly any runs there. They're handing the ball to Jake Irvin, who's 5-6 this season with a 3.13 ERA. He's coming off of a very good start there at the Colorado Rockies, where he gave only a single earned run on 3 hits over 6 innings. He also struck out 10 in that outing. It was against the Rockies, so we're not exactly going to freak out, but we can't help but notice that the Nationals are 4-1 over his last 5 starts. So very, very solid stuff from him. In general, the Nationals bullpen also has not been terrible. They're slightly above average in the majors now with a 3.98 bullpen ERA, and they've been good lately, so definitely some positive things here from this pitching staff. The problem for them is, are they going to be able to score any runs? They've scored 1, 5, 7, and 6 runs respectively over their last 4. They did score a lot of runs in that series against the San Diego Padres, but just couldn't manage to put up any runs. CJ Abrams is leading the way for them, but man, they've got a lot of work to do. They're apparently going to call up their top prospect, so we'll see if that can give the offense a boost, but they're 28th in the majors in runs scored and 26th in the majors in slugging percentage. Just not a fantastic offense. So they're going to have to score some runs here going up against the Rays, who come into this game fresh off of that win. They've actually won 4 out of their last 5 games overall to make it back to 500 on the season. They're handing the ball in this one to Aaron Savale, who's 2-5 this year with a 5.20 ERA. He's coming off a very good start there at the Pirates, where he went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits and only a single earned run. So pretty good stuff from him. I mean, he's had his struggles struggles during his last 5 starts, though. He had a rough outing at the Twins and a pretty rough outing at home against the Baltimore Orioles, but he did have a very good outing against the Orioles also. So, you got to kind of take the good with the bad with this guy. Maybe not somebody that we would, pencil in there as a dominant starting pitcher, but not a complete disaster. The disaster for this team has been their bullpen. That's been one of the main problems. One of the worst rated bullpens in the majors this season. Clearly in the bottom third, more like in the bottom 5. And the offense hasn't been great either. Although recently they've kind of turned things around. They scored 3, 2, 11, 4, and 3 runs respectively over their last few. So to have to call that a turnaround kind of shows you where this offense has been at this season. They're 22nd in the majors in runs scored, 27th in the majors in slugging percentage. So definitely some questions about how many runs they're going to be able to score. The Nationals are plus 115 in this game. The Rays are minus 126. We've got an over-under of 7.5. Washington is 21-24 on the road. Tampa Bay is 22-24 at home. We see mixed over-under trends. In general in this game, guys, I'm leaning towards the Nationals again. I think they're going to find a way to score some runs here off of Savale. Jake Irvin's been an absolute monster lately. He's been great for this team, so go ahead and give me the Nationals getting plus money out there with Jake Irvin on the mound. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we're looking at the Dodgers going on the road to take on the San Francisco Giants. The Dodgers come into this game, well, they're currently actually playing right now. They're in the top of the 7th with the Dodgers down 2-3, so not exactly where they want to be. They are riding a 4-game winning streak going into that game, so they're hoping they can make a late game comeback there. They're handing the ball to Tyler Glasnow for this game, who is 8-5 this season with a 2.88 ERA. He's coming off of yet another very good start, guys. He went 7 innings, gave up 2 runs. Only one of them was earned against the Angels. He struck out 10 in that game and walked none. He's just been dealing. His last couple of starts have been fantastic. He did have some hiccups there at the Yankees, but in general, guys, he's just been very, very good all season long. No major shock there. So has the Dodgers bullpen. Also not a surprise. A 3.25 bullpen ERA has them second in the majors. So yeah, this is a bullpen you can trust, guys. They're going to be able to seal the deal for you if you can give them a lead late in the game. The offense has been a little bit sketchy, which with Mookie Betts out shouldn't be a huge shocker. We've also seen Hernandez miss a little bit of time, but he's back. He's ready to go. That should all be fine. Not exactly an offense that we can super trust at this exact moment, but, they're good. They're still loaded, loaded lineup. Definitely can't feel too terrible about them at the plate. They're going to need to score some runs going up against the Giants, who are looking to, get back to their winning ways. They are up 3-2. They won 3 out of 4 against the Cubs coming into this series against the Dodgers. They're handing the ball to a mystery man in this game. No confirmed starter yet. In general, this pitching staff has not been amazing this season, though, so pretty big question marks. There are a lot of guys we don't want to see them hand the ball to if we're rooting for the Giants in this game, so a little bit worried about that, a little bit worried about their bullpen, and their offense not exactly killing it, guys. I mean, they're 14th in the majors in runs scored and 17th in the majors in slugging percentage, so you're going to have to check back later and into that pinned comment to see which way we actually end up leaning on this game, but right now I'd be very surprised if the Giants were running anybody out there that had us shy away from taking the Dodgers at either minus 200 or minus 1.5. Minus 1.5 seems a bit greedy since, they're not going to have Mookie Betts and their offense isn't at full strength, but we'll just have to wait and see once we have all the information. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we're looking at the Texas Rangers going on the road to take on the Baltimore Orioles. The Rangers come into this game fresh off of another loss. They lost 2-1 in game 2 of this series after losing 11-2 in game 1. They've now lost 4 straight games, I believe it is. No, 5 straight games. They're 37-45 on the year. Handing the ball to Michael Lorenzen, hoping he can stem the tide here. He's 4-3 this year with a 3.04 ERA. His last start at the Brewers was very good. He gave up 2 earned runs in over 5 innings, did not give up a home run in that game, and struck out 5. Over his last 5 starts, he's been very, very serviceable. He just hasn't had a lot of run support. We've seen the Rangers go only 2-3 over those starts, but he's done everything he could be reasonably asked to do. And man, another concern for this team, that Rangers bullpen, not exactly one to write home about. A 4.14 bullpen ERA is not great. They can give up some leads, they can give up some runs, and this offense, man, has not been able to carry them when that happens. They've only scored 2, 5, and 1 run respectively over their last 4 games. They're down to 17th in the majors in runs scored. Josh Smith is, kind of leading the way for this team, but not exactly a guy that we're super high on being able to carry an entire offense. And overall, just the numbers don't add up for this to be a very good offensive team, and they're going to have to score some runs going up against the Baltimore Orioles, who come into this one fresh off a 3rd straight win. Seems like they're back on track. They're 52-30 this season, handing the ball to Cade Povich, who's 0-2 this year with a 4.15 ERA, but he's coming off of back-to-back pretty decent, maybe 3 decent outings in a row, guys. I mean, he went 6 innings of shutout ball against the Atlanta Braves back on the 12th. Then on the 19th, he followed that up with a pretty good 4 2/3 innings against the Yankees, where he only gave up 1 earned run. His last him out, maybe a little bit of a hiccup, but I mean, for a young guy going 5 2/3 against the Cleveland Guardians and giving up 3 earned runs, not exactly a disaster. I mean, he's only 24 years old. You're going to expect some inconsistency out there, but yeah, in general, he's been throwing the ball pretty well. The Orioles bullpen seems like it's back on track after being just atrocious there for a minute. So things are definitely trending upwards for this pitching staff. At the plate, guys, things are back on track. They scored 2, 11, and 4 runs respectively over their last 3. Gunnar Henderson obviously killing it right now. Just this team definitely figuring things out. They're first in the majors in runs scored, first in slugging percentage. Not a ton of crazy stuff we got to say about the Orioles at the plate. They are very, very good offensively. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Rangers at plus 130. We see the Orioles at minus 141. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. The question is, what are we going to get out of Povich? I mean, the Rangers are only 17 and 26 on the road. Baltimore is 28 and 16 at home. And even if they can't get to Lorenzen, guys, maybe they're going to be able to get to this pretty mediocre Rangers bullpen. That doesn't seem like too much of a stretch to me at all. So, I mean, minus 141 going up against Lorenzen, and with Povich on the mound, it seems a bit concerning. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. I don't necessarily love that either. I mean, Baltimore is an MLB best to the over, but the Rangers are 48, 31, and 3 to the under. If you're forcing me to bet this game, guys, go ahead and give me the Orioles minus 141, but this is a flyer at best. I don't have a ton of faith in this one, and I actually think there's some decent chance that the Rangers could manage to steal this one, but on the off chance that Povich has a good outing, we're rolling with the Orioles. Next on the docket, guys, we get the Detroit Tigers going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Angels. The Tigers come into this game fresh off of a 5-2 loss there in Game 2 of their series against the Angels. Losing the first 2, not exactly what they had in mind, I'm sure, but at 37 and 44 on the year, they're probably getting kind of used to losing games. They're handing the ball in this one to Reese Olson. He's 2-8 this season with a 3.35 ERA, coming off of a decent start there against the White Sox. I mean, it's the White Sox, but still, he went 6 1/3 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. He's looked very good over his last couple of starts. Bounce back situation after getting shelled 2 starts in a row, maybe 3 starts in a row, honestly. So seems like he's back on track. Whatever the deal was, it seems like he's figured it out. He's only 24 years old, so you can't expect the most consistency from him. We're also seeing some consistency from this Tigers bullpen, though, which is a bit surprising. They're obviously above average in the majors this season with a 3.86 ERA, ranking them 11th overall. The offense has been a problem, though, recently, guys. Not a good offensive night for them here. It's getting shut out in Game 1 of this series as well, so just not hitting the ball well. Not a good offense over the course of the year either. 26th in the majors in batting average, 27th in the majors, getting on base at a 295 mark. Just not a team you can trust to put up runs, and you're going to have to score some runs here going up against the Angels, who come into this game fresh off that win. They've now won 5 games in a row, which is pretty shocking. They're 35 and 46 overall, handing the ball in this one to Griffin Canning, who's 3-8 this season with a 4.72 ERA. He's coming off of one of his better starts of the season. He went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits, and only a single earned run to the Oakland A's, so very positive stuff from him. We are actually seeing some positive things from the Angels bullpen, guys. I know that's crazy to say. They are only 24th in the majors with a 4.62 bullpen ERA, so obviously not time to overreact. This is not an amazing bullpen out there by any stretch of the imagination, but it seems like they're figuring a thing out here and there. So we'll definitely give them a little bit of credit. Also, significant credit goes to the bats. I mean, swinging the bats really, really well recently. I mean, they've scored at least 5 runs over their last 5 games. So, I mean, there's a big reason there for their winning streak. And yeah, when the bats come alive, good things seem to happen. I mean, they're up to 21st in the majors in runs scored, 16th in the majors in slugging percentage. They're getting on base at a 303 clip. The fact that this team is honestly able to do anything positive without Mike Trout out there is, you know, I guess a step in the right direction. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Tigers at minus 120. We see the Angels at plus 112. We've got an over-under of 8.5 or 8 showing out there. The Tigers are only 18 and 22 on the road, but the Angels are a pretty abysmal 16 and 25 at home. They're playing some of their better ball of the season. They're taking on a pretty weak opponent in this game. So honestly, guys, I think the Angels plus 112 is my lean in this game. Is it going to end up in the pinned comment? I think that's pretty unlikely. I'm going to need to see a little bit more, from Griffin Canning before I'm ready to jump in and start putting his kind of starts in the pinned comment. But overall, I think this is a spot for the Angels to reel off another win. Last but not least, guys, we got the Minnesota Twins going on the road to take on the Seattle Mariners. They're locked in an incredibly tight, very exciting game here. Coming down to the wire, we're obviously on the Seattle Mariners in this game. Minnesota and the Seattle are tied up at 2 apiece in the bottom of the 9th inning, so hopefully Seattle can come through for us in this one. Obviously, we're recording these games a little bit before the end of all the games because we want to get these videos out to you guys as early as possible. I know you all love the early releases. The Twins come into this game playing pretty well. They'd won 4 out of their last 5 coming into this current game that's in the bottom bottom of the ninth. They're handing the ball to Pablo Lopez, who's 7-6 this year with a 5.11 ERA. He's coming off a great start, one of his best starts of the year, guys, against the Oakland A's. He went 8 innings, gave up 2 hits and no runs while striking out 14 and walking 1. Crazy performance, way deeper than we ever expect him to go into games, though. So that is a big red flag for us there. We love to bet against guys that just got stretched out like this. I'm very worried about how he's going to look in this game. And the Twins bullpen, guys, obviously they're not having a terrible night tonight, but they haven't been great this season. 21st in the majors with a 4.19 bullpen ERA is not great. And yeah, the bats obviously not looking amazing either. Only scoring 2 runs here in this game so far, and they haven't been, I mean, they did score 21 runs combined in their 2 games there at Arizona. So taking on the Seattle Mariners pitching staff, though, is a whole different situation. This team is top 10 in runs scored, top 10 in on-base percentage as well. They're 10th in team batting average, but they've made up a lot of those numbers here getting to play against some terrible pitching teams like the A's, the Rays, and yeah, the Rockies and stuff like that. So I think this is an overvalued offense in general. They're taking on a team that, man, wish they had an offense that could be overvalued. It's the Seattle Mariners, who are trying to manufacture a run here in the bottom of the ninth to get the win. That would be 2 wins in a row for them. They would get them up to 47-37 on the year. They're handing the ball in this game to Bryce Miller, who's 6-6 this season with a 3.90 ERA. Coming off a pretty troubling start there, he got knocked around by the Miami Marlins. Not what you want, guys. 4 innings, 6 hits, 6 earned runs, and 2 home runs. Yeah, pretty bad stuff. Definitely in a bounce back situation here, and I kind of expect him to do that because generally speaking, this season has been pretty good. I mean, he did have a hiccup back there on the 7th of this month against the Royals where he got shelled there at Kansas City, but a lot of guys have gotten shelled at Kansas City, so we're willing to cut him a little bit of slack. The Mariners bullpen has been very good over the course of the season. No shock there. Holding steady at around 7th or 8th place with around a 3.5 bullpen ERA. Nothing wrong with that. They can usually hold on to some wins, keep their team in some games. The offense is always the question for this team. Are they going to be able to put up any runs? I mean, just not a team that hits the ball well. They're 25th in the majors in runs scored, 29th in batting average. That is pretty weak stuff, batting .219 as a team. 25th in on-base percentage. Just not an amazing hitting team. I mean, Julio Rodriguez is leading the way for them with a .252 batting average, and Kyle Raleigh is leading the way with home runs with 14 home runs and 49 RBIs. The dude is batting a .204. So some major concerns there, but in general in this game, guys, I'm definitely leaning towards the Mariners plus 100. This has a decent chance to end up in the pinned comment. I do not trust Pablo Lopez coming off of that extended start. That's my big reason for leaning towards the Mariners in this game. I also trust Bryce Miller to bounce back a decent amount in this game. He hasn't faced the Twins yet this season, so you know that isn't something we can really take into consideration, but give me the Mariners plus 100 in this spot. I think we're going to see the Twins pitching staff struggle a lot in this game. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we will see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.